I can see Abu there from the UK. Leicester, UK, Khalid Patel, thank you. Birmingham, Pakistan. Great, you got international uh, conglomeration. Let me share my screen and then let's get introduced and get started. So as I said, I'm going to have this as quite an open session. So feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along. Feel free to ask questions verbally when we get to certain points. What is this session and what is this session not? So the whole idea behind this session really, and the reason I put it together is AI tools have advanced. The world has changed in terms of what's now available and what's possible. And business users are finding that their frustrations are hopefully things of the past, more so in terms of when it comes to application development, getting the best out of technology. So these are some of the frustrations you guys shared. So thanks to all of those that filled in frustrations that they had with technology deployment. And as you can see, big ticket ones there, time, slow, delivery being costly, waiting for developers, problems with deployment, complexity, overwhelming. So and hopefully words that you guys recognize there from what you put in and frustrations that I hear a lot about. So in this session, what we're going to be doing is this is not a tutorial. So I'm not going to be teaching you how to use the application, but what I want you to go away with is concepts. If you guys have Replit or Lovable or something similar in the background, feel free to play along. The whole goal is by the end of this 1 hour session, we'll have an app deployed, an app that typically can cost maybe hundreds of pounds in terms of recurring subscriptions per month, something that is a common business need. So I'm going to open up the floor initially. I've got a few ideas for what I want to build. So I've had requests for things like an AI-driven expense management app. I've had requests for a CRM system because people are saying that CRM costs them a lot. And interestingly, that's my background anyway. So more than happy to do that. But if anyone's got suggestions, something that they want to build or want me to build, then I'll give the next minute or so just for suggestions. Feel free to open the mics or put it into the chat. What would you guys like to see me build today? Product hunt. Okay, interesting. CRM. So I want to try and do something that kind of would be quite universal. So I was thinking, I was talking to a law firm and they were like, look, build a legal matter management system. And then I thought, well, could I make that a bit more universal? Smart CRM linked to marketing and sales CRM, please. Okay, I think the story is writing itself. I think CRM system it's going to be. So CRMs are an interesting challenge, and one of the things that we know is CRMs typically, we're buying per user per month, and we're paying a lot to get them customized. A lot of the time, we're not just paying for a subscription, we're paying quite a lot to get them customized and molded to the way we work because no CRM system starts life the way we work out of the box. So I actually like that. System that takes documents locally in an RAG. Ooh. Dean, I think you want to get really technical today, don't you? That's awesome. So look, let's try and build AI into what we do. Let's take the CRM example. So let's see what CRM system we can build in an hour. What I would like to do is I would love to have you guys feed features into me as we go. What the typical method that I would use, and just to kind of set the expectations for this session, I'm going to approach this from a business user perspective. So I'm quite technical. I'm not a developer. I used to develop probably about 20 years ago, but I'm not a day-to-day developer. I'm an architect and I deliver business solutions to a lot of people, but I'm going to try and keep this as non-techy as possible and keep my business hat on for this presentation. I am going to share with you best practices, so look for those throughout this session, inshallah, starting from the top and just how we're going to prompt and get started. And this isn't going to be specifically about Replit, but Replit is the tool I've chosen to use today, just because it brings a lot of things together that makes a 1 hour app actually a lot more possible than using some of the other tools. But you could easily use Lovable or vo.dev or similar tools. But Replit is my tool of choice for today. So whenever we're building an application, there's a couple of things we think about. We think about the users, we think about what they're going to be doing, and then we think about what data is going to be stored. So this is as we approach it typically in industry, right? When we're building applications. So that's what I'm going to keep in mind as I'm kind of moving forward. So let's put a prompt together for building our app. So I'm going to build an app in Replit. I need a prompt for the MVP. I need to ensure, and here's a couple of tips straight away. When you're building with an AI tool, one of the things you guys will notice if you've used generative AI before, or if you've used any sort of AI tools, is it can be prone to things like hallucination. It can be prone to sometimes not understanding your requests. It's not a perfect technology. So I like to build some belt and braces into it. So what I'm going to tell what I want the agent to do first and foremost is I want it to maintain documentation. This is going to make it easier afterwards if I need to hand it over to anyone, someone cleverer than me, a developer, to finish it off. So maintain a change log in the project. Whoops, no, I don't want to submit that yet. Let's stop. Let's go back to edit. I want to maintain the change log in the project. Maintain a docs folder with technical documentation. We're building a CRM system for let's just build it for a company called Cloud Surge. So call it Surge CRM. Basic contact management and sales functionality. So whenever you're building with AI, what you want to do is start with your basics, right? So what you want to do is right now I could think about some advanced functionality for a CRM system. But what you're going to see is we're going to take an iterative approach. That's how these tools respond best. So I'm going to focus on what my minimum is, what are the key things, because I've got an hour, and then we're going to build on from there. So basic contact management, sales functionality, authentication that is centrally controlled. So I don't want anyone to be able to access this, right? This is going to have data in there. So I want people to land at a login page and no registration options, admins manage new users. So I just want to be careful of that. So all I'm going to do is put that in for now. So this will give me a prompt. There was a question about why I'm using Claude over ChatGPT for my prompt. I like Claude Sonnet 4. I like the outputs it gives. It can be a lot more comprehensive. So personally, and it gives you these nice artifacts by default. So personally, I like Claude, but I use both. I use both Claude and ChatGPT. As you can see, because Claude is actually used under the hood in a lot of these development platforms, and it's a very good developer, if that makes sense. The AI models are really good developers, so you can see it's already starting to think about project structure and stuff like that. So it's given me a whole bunch of requirements. I'm going to copy those as is for now, and let's jump into Replit. Now, Replit does have an improved prompt, so I could have just put it in here and improve the prompt, but I'm going to put the longer one in here and then improve the prompt as well. So let's do it a different way. So build the app as described. So I pasted the content in. It's added all of those requirements in there. Build the app as described. We're focusing on an MVP similar to HubSpot, Salesforce in terms of CRM system. Start with the basics and then build out more functionality. Right. So I'm going to tell that to go now. One of the things that's good about Replit is it's going to plan before it starts to build. So it's going to take all of that stuff I've given it and it will start to plan. Now, if I had more time, I would have went through that those requirements in a bit more detail than I did. I've just kind of skimmed through them, and they looked about right for a basic CRM system. And of course, if I had something specific, so if I was, a legal company, or if I was a professional services company, and there's very specific functionality I wanted, then I would have made sure that's included. So what the agent's done is it's taken the requirements I've given it as a business user. I'm telling it to build the app. It's understood what I need to build, which is Search CRM, a CRM system, and it's given it a name. It's decided on the technology stack, so it's going to have the password authentication. It's going to have a database underneath it for storing things effectively. And you can see it's already started to build a visual preview of the logon screen. So that's looking good. It's telling me about what features it wants to build. So it's saying that, it's going to have secure login, admin controlled user management, complete contact, create, read, update, and delete operations. So I'm going to be able to search and update and delete and create contacts. Deal management with a sales pipeline. That looks interesting. Task management, which is good. Basic reporting. So, okay, that looks good. Then it's also thought of some additional functionality, but we can iterate that based on what we actually want to build out. And again, I'll take feedback from the room as we build forward. I'm happy with that basic plan. So we're going to kick that off, and that agent now is going to take those requirements and start to put things together. Couple of things to be aware of. What the agent is doing in the background is doing the architecture and design work. So it's thinking about how it's going to technically structure things, and then it's executing on that design as well. For those, and because we've got mixed registrations, we've got people who have joined today that are developers, we've people that have joined that are pure end user business leaders or business users or managers. We've got people in the middle who are kind of semi-technical. For the developers in the room, you guys are going to be straight away thinking that you want more control over what technology is being used to build it. Like me right now, I don't really care as long as it's secure and it does the functionality. I'm not bothered whether it's using React, for example, in the front end or not. But you can specify. So if you're more technical, then you can make more specific technical requests. If you're less technical, you can make a more simplistic request. It will understand that and turn that into a technical request. The other thing the platform's quite good for, or these platforms are quite good for, is suggesting those technology choices. So you might know what you want to do, but you might not specifically know how to do that thing, even if you're a developer. So it's good for finding the right libraries and stuff to use. For the rest of us, then the great thing is all we need to really think about is what do we need it to do, and how that functionality is going to come together. So while this is starting to build out, what it's doing at the moment is it's under the hood, it's been architecting and designing everything, and now it's going to start to put its file structure together and build out the application. Whilst it does that, a couple of things that are worth mentioning right from the offset. When we're building apps, typically in the IT industry, there's a few things that we think about in terms of scalability, making sure it's safe, making sure it's enterprise ready. So we think about things like the governance of it, the data, how secure the data is, making sure that it's not we're not going to get hacked and our data stolen. We make sure that it's accessible if we've got people who have accessibility needs, or they might need to use screen readers. So there's a lot of other considerations sometimes we have as IT professionals that you might not think of off the bat. It's also great to use Claude or ChatGPT or something up front to kind of think about those things if you're going to be building something a bit larger. If you're building a simple tool for yourself to use, or maybe you've got a sales team of 5 people and you're building a CRM like this, then you will already know the needs of your users and you can cater for them. Replit, incidentally, and Lovable both have security scanners built in, so it can scan and check for any security vulnerabilities. So whilst that's getting started now and creating the different files, we've got a preview. This preview will change into the fully interactive version once it goes through its first iteration. We can see it's starting to create a whole bunch of files around protected routes and use auth, so sounds really secure, and let's see how it all goes. In the meantime, are there any questions or any thoughts from anyone around the call at the moment, or any burning things that people want to mention? Feel free. Yes, Abu, go ahead.
Really, really great to see this happening in real time, Ilyas. So I have a very basic question. Other people may not have this question because they don't realize how untechnical I am. But you're using this to build a CRM platform, and you're using a tool called Replit, which I know is an AI-enabled developer tool. Once this is created, where is it going to live? Where in the cloud? How is it going to be secured? How do you make it enterprise ready? And can you use this to build out the app? And then perhaps because we've lived in the dynamic space for so long, how do you get it into the Dataverse if you want it there?
Yeah, fantastic question. So it is something that I'm planning to show today, so hopefully this will get deployed. Replit and some most of these platforms now, like Lovable, VO.dev, Replit, they all allow you to deploy within their platform. So they are not just a build platform, but they're a hosting platform as well. So I'm going to be using Replit to host the application. I can connect it to a custom domain. However, one of the things that I can do is because it's generating code, I can take all of that code and I can put it elsewhere. So if I wanted to host it somewhere else, if I wanted to put it in Azure or AWS or something, then I can do that. For a lot of people, especially if they're thinking about enterprise grade deployment or kind of managing the life cycle of the application they've built, they probably need a bit of support around that. I mean, we tend to help people that have kind of built fantastic prototypes and MVPs for larger scale applications, and then they need a team that's going to kind of manage and make sure that that's kind of secured, do code reviews on it, and also deploy it in more custom scenarios. So not within this platform, but take it away and host it somewhere else. So you do have options. You can host within the platform, which has its own cost implications, generally quite cost effective, or you can take it outside of the platform, take that code and deploy it elsewhere.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing the rest of it then. Thanks.
No, fantastic. Any other questions, thoughts? Anyone seeing something like this for the first time? Anyone seeing generative AI for the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Brother Arshad. Oh, you had your hand raised, but it's gone. Do I have a master prompt template for initial feature requirement development? So yes, we do have a number of templates that the team use, because all of our team at Cloud Surge who develop, they are AI accelerated, so they all use AI tools in development. They use some cleverer tools than this as well that are suited for developers. So we've got a few different templates. I will share some that are more user friendly after the call, but more than happy to look at what individuals needs, like crib sheets and stuff like that. Absolutely. How can we make an executable app that can be maybe downloaded? So with these platforms, it is typically web-based applications. Now, so we're not building Windows applications per se or Linux applications. However, if you're that way inclined, you can build some of those. So for those that are more technical in the room, if you know exactly how you want it deployed and what languages you want to use, then some of that's possible. But what this is more catered for is net-based applications. So you could, I mean, for some people, what they want is they use this because they want to own their technology. And when they want to own their technology, what that means is they don't even want it in the cloud. Like they just want a server in the office. And we are going back to that. Like there's a lot of people who are starting to own their own server infrastructure again as well. And so they just install it on that and use it locally on their network. Do you have an AI-based chatbot creation tool available? So there is a tool I showed in the last webinar. That webinar is available on YouTube now, I think on our YouTube channel, but I can share links with anyone. Just drop me a message on LinkedIn/SolutionCon and I'll drop you that. But yes, Relevance AI is the tool that I typically use for agents. However, for some enterprise scenarios, then we do use Copilot Studio within Microsoft and other things as well. But typically, if you have a look at Relevance AI, then that's going to be the best way you can try it out. Okay, so agents come back. It's been building away in the background. It's told me it's created a database for me. How thoughtful. Manage it here. Okay, so I can click here to have a look at the database. We'll have a look at that in a second. So it's created a whole bunch of stuff. It's taken what we call a a rollback point here. So what we're able to do, these checkpoints are something that Replit will take regularly, and you'll see why, hopefully, if well, not hopefully, but if some stuff breaks. But you can always roll back to that point. So we know what point we're here. If we ever need to go back in time to this point, then we can do, especially if things kind of get a bit weird. So in 9 minutes, it's created about 3,000 lines of, or plus lines of code. It's changed about 5,000 plus lines of code. And you can see agent uses, it's been quite transparent. It's used about $1 worth of agent time. With Replit, you get an allowance. And you use up to that allowance in terms of build time, and you can expand that. Different platforms have different ways of charging. So it's told me it's built a comprehensive CRM MVP called Surge CRM. It's got authentication. It's got contact management. It's got all of that stuff. But what it's telling me is that it should be running and you can test the main functionality by creating an admin account. Well, that's not very secure, is it? I want you to create me the first admin account, and I don't ever want a registration route for users. All users should be created by that first or future admins. Now, for those that are more technical in the room, they know that authentication or security can be a typical problem area. It is a lot easier to do nowadays, and some low-code tools online make it a lot more straightforward. Because I'm building a CRM system here, I want this to be ultra secure. I don't want people to be able to register. I don't want any of that. However, you can do more flexible registration. So I don't know if you've seen on certain websites where it lets you log in, with your Google account or your Microsoft account or, those types of things. You can link that authentication in quite easily, but I'm being quite picky purposely. And you'll notice, like, again, I in my original requirements, I did actually make this quite explicit, right? That I did want it to not have a registration, and it even says no public registration, but then it's telling me need to create the first admin account. Like I don't even want that. I want it to just give me an admin user, because I don't want it to ever have this left on there. Imagine that. Imagine your CRM system just has a registration link to just create an admin, create an admin. And this is where you'll know like it's not always going to do sensible things, right? You have to be the human that's looking at what's going on here. Um, we help a lot of people with some guidance on this sort of stuff when they're building apps. Just sometimes it's just tips that we give them because you've got to think about certain things. Oh, we've got our first error. Tell you what, not bad. We've got our first error of the day, but it's been quite quick. But what you'll notice is the screen's flickering and the agent seems to be just continuing because it does self-heal. So anytime it does some changes, if it notices it's got an error, then it will then go away and try and fix the error. So if you look at what's happening on the left-hand side, it's told me it's going to create the first admin account and remove the registration route. So it's removing that first, and it's going to create the first admin user. It's creating a script to put that admin into the database under the hood so that it will actually work. And it's going ahead and doing all that. And then as it was doing that, it found an error. So it says I need to fix the error by doing some stuff. Don't know what stuff, but it's fixing those stuff. And as it's doing that, what we'll then land back at is the page ready to go. Just while that's fixing the errors, a couple of the other questions. How can I build an app with AI embeddings and deploy it on GitHub or Netlify without having to expose my API credentials? Well, if you want AI embeddings, what you'll need to do is make sure that your app is using what we call secrets. So secrets are a way of storing your API keys. What you never want to do is put your API key into the chat. And this is a good tip. I don't know if I'll get to a point of doing any integrations. I do have an OpenAI API key I can use if we get there. But if you're ever doing that, never paste your API key into the chat. You never want that going into some AI's database to be used. Replit does have a secure way of managing those. It has this concept called secrets. So I can look at all tools and I can see that I've got this, what they call a key value storage. Sorry, no, not there. Where is it? Secrets. So I can use this to store API keys. So I can put any API keys in here. That way they won't actually end up in the code. The code will be referencing that. Yes. What is an API key? So if ever you're connecting to another system, say for example you're connecting to your something that has AI features, or you have a system that you're going to send data to or receive data back from, then the way that that's transported, or the way that the systems talk to each other, is through what we call an API. So all the person's asking in the question there is, if what if I want to use AI tools where I'm making a link to ChatGPT service, and I've got my private API key, which is like a password for your account. I don't want that in my code, so that when someone downloads this swanky app I built, they can now use my credits on my AI. So that's what the question there is about. So yes, some consideration if you're doing integrations on how you do that. Okay, so it's remove public registration. It's given me an admin account. Let's get logged in. We can tidy up the login page afterwards and get it to get rid of that information. Let's see if it actually logs in. So we've clicked sign in. Oh, hey, we are in. We have got search CRM. We've got, I can search contacts and deals, etc. Okay, the notifications doesn't work, the help doesn't work. So what we're going to do now on first release is we're going to now go through and we're going to make a list for the agent of things that don't work. So notifications shows 3 in red but isn't clickable. Help icon isn't clickable. Don't think we need one yet anyway, because help is going to be complex. We don't need to focus on that. There's a dashboard. Okay, instantly I can see revenues in dollars. So currency for the app should be in GBP, Great British Pounds. I can see it's got some charts. Okay, you can flick between those. View all activities doesn't do anything yet. View all activities link doesn't do anything. Contacts, okay, so okay, we can import a CSV. Import button doesn't work. Does add contact? Yes, it does. Let's try and add a contact. You can see email, phone number, company job title. At this point, I could ask it to add more things that I want to add to this. All right, great. That's been added. Can I view or edit it? Yeah, okay. So view, edit. Okay, edit works. View doesn't. Does delete? Okay, I can delete the contact. Did it delete? Nope. Okay. View contact when in contact list doesn't work. Edit does. Delete doesn't seem to delete. Deals in pipeline. So, okay. Let's get some sample data into here as well. So tasks does a 404. Tasks has a 404 error. For those of you that might be new to this, then if you click something and you get a 404 page not found, 404 is a typical website error, which means the page doesn't exist. So in other words, the link's there, but no one's home. So that tasks doesn't have anything there. Reports doesn't have anything there. Tasks and reports. Let's see user management. Okay, user management's there. Cool. Can we add a user? Okay, we can add roles as well. So let's just test. Oh, it can do a temporary password as well. And again, I could now do things like making sure there's a level of password security. I could, make sure that this, like 8 characters or 12 characters and ask exclamation marks and all sorts. But okay, so that kind of works. They've never been logged in. We've got some user actions that don't work. In user management, I can't edit or click the key icon. What's the key icon? Or click the key icon on hover over buttons should have label text. So I want to kind of, when it hovers over, I kind of want to see what that button's meant to be if I'm a new user. Okay, and settings doesn't have a page either. So tasks, settings, and reports don't have a page. So as you can see, all I've done is, as a user, I've just gone through, click stuff, check stuff, and the dashboard does update. I've added one contact, so it knows about those. Label text. Also, put in some sample data. All data should be from the database. No faking it or storing locally. This is a little bit technical, but I'll mention this. Whenever you're building in these apps, sometimes, especially in Lovable, you can build an app and it looks like it's got information there, but what it's actually doing is it's just storing that on the front website. Like it's just tattooed on it, right? And it's not real data in a database. So whenever you're building something where you want it to store data properly, then while you're developing it, it's good to make sure that, look, don't fake anything. Don't mock any of your data. Keep it as okay, sample data, but it's got to be written and read from the database. So it's made a to-do list for itself. It's going to fix the contact functionality, the currency, navigation issues, tooltips. So even I called it label text, right? But tooltips is the correct term for that. So it's going to add tooltips for buttons when I hover over, notification and help icons, and it's going to add sample data. So that's going to now go through, and you can see it's already started editing the contacts. It's fixed the contact route stuff. It's going to check that the delete contact works. So again, I don't have to work out the how it's going to do this. It's doing everything. I just gave it simple user instructions based on what I was seeing. It's also noticed that the app has crashed, so it's going to fix the issues systematically. It might add, which is really reassuring to know. Just while it's doing that and fixing its errors, let's just go through some of the other questions that were in the chat. So, yeah, API credentials. Any recommendations for mobile app development tools? So if you're a developer yourself, then you can use other tools that I'm not going through today. So such as Cursor, Warp.dev. There are other tools that are very much suited for developers working in their dark rooms with their developer screens in front of them in IDEs, right? For the rest of us in the human world, then typically these sorts of tools would be Bolt.new. That's quite good for mobile apps. VO.dev, I think, can do mobile apps. This can as well, but I've not built a mobile app on this, I've got to be honest. So yes, you can use a few of them for mobile app development. What you want to think about whenever you're doing a mobile app is who the user base is going to be, i.e., are you going to get it on the app stores and Google Play Store, or are you going to have this as a downloadable that people can just download and install? Much more common in the Android world or for business solutions, but have a think about those types of things. Sometimes what you might just want is as a web app you use on your mobile, right? Most websites now just function as applications, so don't necessarily think, ask yourself the question, why does it need to be an actual mobile app rather than an app I can use on my mobile? And those are two subtly different things, right? Um, an app I can use on my mobile just means that I can use it somehow. Um, there was another question reiterating how can I build an app with AI embeddings? All right, we'll see if how quickly it does some of this stuff, and then we'll try and embed some AI stuff into this as well. What's an API key? Yeah, sorry. Do you think asking for a criteria list from the AI for the build of that helpful to check in? Yes. So you can do. What I like to do is I'm not doing it as much today, to be honest. But what I like to do is tell it to build a to-do list that I can work with it on. So what I like to get it to focus on functionality and do it one by one and have a list that it's kind of working through. Please ensure you're managing your feature to-do list, your change log and docs folder. There. I'll tell it to do that. So what has it done? It's fixed the deletions, changed everything into pounds, which it looks like it's got sample data. Our dashboard's looking a lot fuller at the moment. No revenue trend. Oh, not making any revenue. And it's added some stuff in there. So let's check it out now. So notification still isn't clickable. Can I search contacts? So we've got Sophie Davies. Let's see if we can search. Okay. So it's got to fix the search. On here, I can't click on the activities. Activities from recent activity. Ensure this is correctly linked to contacts. By the way, what you might want to also do is when you're doing this, you might have in your mind other CRM systems and stuff you've used, and you might want to kind of, suggest features to it that you want to build in here. I'm being quite simplistic for what I'm building. So contacts, okay, I can see I can multi-select. I've got Sophie Davies now. I can edit, brilliant. I can see Sophie's record. I can edit Sophie's record, but I can't see information linked to Sophie, like what Sophie's tasks are, which you'd expect in a CRM system, right? I'd expect to go into Sophie and then be able to see Sophie's details. So I need to be able to click into the contact and then see their details and associated information, such as sales pipeline. What's on the sales pipeline? I didn't check that properly. So deals. So it's called them deals, those pipeline deals and tasks, as would be expected in a CRM. So I'm going to tell it that. As you can see, I'm just firing things at it to get it to kind of, and it will queue all of this stuff as we're doing it. So, okay, we've got Sophie Davies, I've got deals pipeline. How do you move stuff from, I want to drag and drop stuff on the pipeline board. I want to be able to drag and drop deals on the pipeline board from stage to stage. That's going to be quite cool. And I can't click into them. And also build out full deal details and the link of deals to contacts. So let's get it to do that. Tasks, task management coming soon. Great. So finish off the task management functionality. Fire that in. Reports, so it's built a page. Before, these things didn't even have a page, but it hasn't built any analytics and reports. Create the analytics and reports content for the page. Make it reference the core data and be visually attractive. Okay. User management, it's got those in there. Does it have to? Oh, that's a reset password. So it's put tooltips in there, but the reset password doesn't work, so we can tell it to fix that. Now, you've seen the pattern here, right? Like there are things that we're going to tell it. It will sometimes fix it completely. Sometimes it will not quite do it as we wanted, and so that iteration is going to be important. But you can see already for what we've got built so far, and just remembering that we're not using a platform. So we're not using something for any of you that use low-code tools like Make.com or Power Platform. Then we weren't starting with anything. We started from a blank canvas, and the agent has coded all of this stuff from scratch. So it's made it all from scratch, including the error handling and all of the things we're talking about. So whilst it's going ahead and building all of that stuff out, because I think I've given it a number of tasks to do, and while it fixes out how it's crashed, let me just go through some of the other questions that were left over. And again, if anyone wants to come onto mic or ask anything at this point, then feel free. Yes, Abu, go ahead.
Just an observation, I suppose, yes, more than a question. Depending on the audience and whether it's agency or internal, I think it really makes a difference in terms of what you're prompting, what you're looking for. So I'm looking at this certainly from an agency perspective. So what would we do with clients who want some of these features? And what you've done in about 35 minutes is gone through a kickoff, initial design, HLD, MVP, wireframe. You've done something in about 40 minutes that we'd probably charge a client 10 days for. So I think you take the some epics and some user stories, put them in a good prompt, put it into a tool like this, and you've undercut everyone else immediately. So bravo. It's really
I,
good.
no, thank you. No, it's crazy, right? Like if you think, and this is why I tell people now that development has gone full circle. So back in the day, everyone used to do custom development, and that was the way you did stuff. That's the way you got apps built. It started to get really expensive, and so people said, "Well, we'll build the apps for you and rent them to you." Hence the arrival of SaaS, software as a service, right? And then you had subscription creep, the price per user starting to increase, and now the evolution of no code into now AI generated stuff, it's gone full circle. People are saying, well, why rent the thing when I can now just build it quicker than I could rent it for and for cheaper than I could rent it for, let alone building it from scratch. So absolutely, it does compress that time scale considerably. Um,
I think it does still, though, require your expertise because I'm just looking at some of the questions on the chat here. The expertise required to do the right prompt engineering, to ask the right questions, to go through it in the right structured way. I think you do need some experience of having built this before without AI to understand the process that you go through. So I'm watching you, and I know the steps we would take, not the
yeah,
technical
yeah,
journey. And your AI got the admin username and password wrong because you actually didn't tell it to do that at the beginning. So it
correct.
wasn't the AI's fault; it was your prompting.
It was my prompting.
It was.
Absolutely.
I think that's where you're going to add some real value as well, which is you're the experts who have the prompt or the prompting knowledge. So this is still, I mean, from the good old days of citizen developer, I think this is still going to require some consultancy experience to be able to do this stuff that you're doing right now. But I'm really impressed.
Yeah, and if you think about it the other way as well, when you stick then an experienced developer or consultant on this, then suddenly the output is phenomenal, right?
Yeah, we're
Absolutely.
using AI agents as well as part of our development process as well, and we think 30-40% cheaper probably.
100%, 100%. No, thank you for the input and the questions there. Thank you, Abu. And exactly that. I mean, there's a question in chat around, do you think sorry, when creating an AI, would there be any legal ramifications or proprietary rights? Does something build belong to the AI company that helped build the software or create the software? So this hasn't been fully legally tested yet. However, in principle, and this comes back to the point that Abby made around the prompt, you are the creator. Your prompt is what's leading to the output, and there is a lot around this that needs to be legally tested. However, um, the whether you think about things you produce via ChatGPT, Claude, when it comes to documents or other things, or whether you think about apps, you own the output. So at the moment, it's something that hasn't had depth of legal testing, but in principle, you own what you build with an AI tool. If it's a mobile app, what would you do differently in the prompt? I'd do a lot actually differently in the prompt if I had more time. So exactly as Abu said, I'd do a lot more thinking around the features, around how I want it to be controlled. In a mobile app, it's the same thing. You're thinking about the user journeys and the user experience. So at the top of the call, I said that you want to think about the users, who's going to use it. You want to think about the functionality, what they're going to be able to do on it, what's the process, and what's the data. Same way as a mobile app, right? You're thinking about who's using it, and you've got to be very specific because typically on a desktop app, you're going to have a lot more features there and a lot broader application than a mobile app. Excuse me, typically. So it's the navigation, user experience, and those types of things that you want to have a lot more focus on. Um, does a better prompt avoid the need to do a half job on the task, or is that just how Replit operates? You tell it to do something and it doesn't do it properly. So AI is prone to hallucination. Very rarely will it completely go the other way. There is a very public example of someone's prompt that or the Replit replacing some data with sample data, and they've fixed this now by when you're developing having a different data set than when you're live. But yeah, a better prompt avoids a lot. However, it's continuous better prompting. Okay, so how are we doing for time? We're 15 minutes away, so let's see if we can get this deployed in the next 10 minutes and get this finalized now. So our dashboard is working. We've got activity. Can I search for Sophie now? Because I gave it a lot, I'm expecting some stuff there. Okay, well, that just took me to contacts. Okay, cool. Sophie Davies, Michael. Beautiful. Okay, that filtering's working. Deals pipeline. Ah, I can't drag and drop it. I want to be able to drag and drop the deals pipeline cards from one stage to another. Because it's telling me it's done an interactive Kanban board. So this is coming back to it. Sometimes it will say and think it's done it. This could be because of there's an error in the code. So it thinks it's done it because it's coded it, but there's an error in the code. And when we tell it again, it will go over and fix the current implementation, as you can see. So sometimes it will genuinely error. There is an option in Agent Tools. If I click on Agent Tools, I can increase the, this is going to sound funny, but I can increase the intelligence. There's a high power model which uses a more expensive language model under the hood. It can be prone to less mistakes, but it's more expensive to build with. But I've found 90% of things it's fine with the standard agent. So I think we're close now for an MVP. I think if we can just get those couple of things now working over the next couple of minutes, make sure that I can go to a contact, I can see my tasks and my deals, then I've got the basis there for my MVP. I can then increase it and add other things afterwards. What I might do is try and add a contact summary with the AI in there. Because I would like to get some AI in there, but something useful. So if you guys have got feature suggestions now over these last 10 minutes or so, then throw them in if you want me to, make the CRM do something. And if it's doable in the last 10 minutes or so, I'll get it to do it. Question. What was the initial instruction to get that layout? I might have missed it. So app. This is surprisingly a very standard app layout. I could have been more specific and told it how to lay out, but I told it wanted a CRM app, so it's kind of decided for me what a CRM app should look like. Um, do I think that I can build an app using Replit that can bring in 1 million ARR? I'd love to take that challenge up with you, Usman. Give me a shout in the background. Tell me what your idea is, and let's get it live. No problem. Why isn't that possible? If you think about, we work in the venture space, and you'll be surprised about the types of applications that are now going for Series A funding and beyond. So yeah, it's not beyond the realms of possibility anymore. All right, so let's see if our deals pipeline is draggable now. Oh, yay, look at that. Oh no, it didn't land. Yeah, it did. Awesome. So that's now draggable. It's a bit glitchy, or maybe it doesn't want me to go backwards. That's quite cool. Okay, so drag and drop is there, but a bit glitchy when moving cards between stages. Doesn't land properly. I don't know how else to describe it to it in a non-technical way, so I'll tell it that. And whilst it's fixing that, let's test the other areas. So yeah, it's cool. Anyone that's done coding, then these are quite interesting things to try and code, right? Typically people use other tools and stuff to do drag and drop. Let's go into our contacts now. Sophie still doesn't have a full card. Sometimes what it does, it builds the functionality, but then doesn't link it together. On the contact list. I'll tell it that that's still not working. And while it's doing that, it's fixing that. So tasks, it's now added. So we can do new tasks in there. Reports, although it's behind the menu, so we can tell it that. And there's no system settings, which I don't know what I would ask it to do for system settings right now, other than add a dark mode. I kind of want it to do a dark mode. Make the menu collapsible and add a dark mode toggle. Right. Let's try adding a deal. Estimated close date. Just make sure that that all works. Created it, but did it refresh? And not give that a stage. Oh, it's loading, that's why. Okay. So let's check our contacts now. So our menu is now collapsible. Okay. But we can tell it to fix that. Main thing I want to fix is the MVP function. So, okay, great. So we can click it. When I click a contact, it says contact not found. Technically, I know why it's done that and what the error is, but let's see if it will just fix it. It's not making its link into the contact correctly, but it's got a contact, it's built the contact page functionality. So let's get it to link that together. And hopefully now it's just a case of there's different bits that it built but hadn't linked together, tying things back together. Is it possible to render another website app content in your app in real time? Real we render MLS data, which doesn't. Okay, yes, you can. So you can show other app content in your app. There are different methods to do that. Just ask it to do it. You can do two methods. You can grab the data, which is what you're suggesting there with an API, or you can show it like in a window. So what we know is framing or something like that. So you can do that. Similarly, when users don't define their needs properly, you will make some assumptions, build it, and then they will tell you that's not what they want when they see it. Yeah. No, we've never heard that before. What do you mean? You show a user an app and they tell you it's not what they wanted? Never happens. Okay, so side menu connect it, the contact navigation, it says it's fixed. So that's not. So let's take it step by step now. So contact clicking takes us to, let's just copy and paste that text. So now instead of getting it to do 100 things at once, which I'm mostly doing today because of time, it works really well when you just get it to then focus on one, which is hopefully these last couple of bugs that we can iron out in the next 3 minutes or so, and then deploy it, which will only take a minute or two. So we're still good. No, we're cutting it close, but we're just doing well for time. Let's see. We've got. I think I can get this deployed in the next 5 minutes if this contact linking works, because my hope is that it's built the contact page, but it just hasn't linked it properly. So let's see. And again, typically I wouldn't want to try and build a CRM system in an hour anyway. But you know, this has been good. Okay, contacts. No, it still doesn't work. It doesn't like it. It's erroring. Okay, can you try clicking content? Nope, it doesn't work. So it's trying to identify the error. It's because I could have told it that if well, any developers in the room will notice that it's probably not passing the contact ID properly, which is what it is doing. So what it did first, just for information, is it made the error a bit more readable for itself so it could figure out what the problem was. And then when I read it now from the error, it can work out what the problem is. So now it's going to fix that. All right. I can see the issue now! Exclamation. Great. I'm glad you can see the issue. Just fix it. Um, okay. On on some pages, like the contact full page, the menu covers the left part of the page. Let's get it to fix that. Okay, so contacts, James Brown. We can see James Brown. It just needs to fix this menu going over it. We can see James Brown there. Can we create a task? Can't create a task for him. We can't add a deal for him, but we know that information is there. So we'll fix those buttons. There's the retail activity. It's coming together. All right, I think we're almost close to deploying. On contact, fix the add deal button. Doesn't do anything. And create. They don't do anything. Okay. So it's just going to fix that. see the dashboard is using a static ML64 margin. You're great. I'm glad you know what that is. I don't. No stick from the developers in the room, right? You guys might be clever enough to know what that is, but the rest of us humans, we don't. And as you can see, like a couple of things take away while we're coming to the end here in the last 5 minutes or so. One, hopefully you've seen that it's not necessarily plain sailing. There will be errors, there will be things that it will fix, there'll be things that you'll test and it won't have got it right. There's an iterative process. Two, the prompts are important, especially the first prompt that comes in and what you do after that, each prompt that you build in. Thirdly, make note of these rollbacks because these are important, especially if it goes down a rabbit hole or you're getting weird errors, and you might at some point need to just roll back to a previous point where the app was working properly. Those of us that are in development, we know that sometimes happens, right? You know, something gets corrupted or we need to roll back to a previous point. So use those as needed. Right. So let's go back into Contact. It's going to implement the missing functionality and add that in. And whilst it's finalizing the functionality there, let's talk about deployment. So deployment is getting this live. So right now, this is sitting in what we call a development environment. In other words, I can see it, I can build it, I can play with it, I can test it, but no one can really use it yet. It's not live anywhere. I can't just go to a website and log in. So let's do that. And again, this is an MVP. There are going to be errors, there are going to be bugs, there are going to be things to fix. But I'm quite pleased with how far we've got so far in the last kind of 40, 50 minutes or so. So when I click deployment, I'm just going to go with the recommended option because it just says best choice for most apps, right? But for those that are more technically minded, you can choose exactly how this deployment is set up and how powerful it is. I'm going to make this not so powerful because I don't need it to be powerful because it's just me testing this in front of you guys. But I'm going to approve that. And it says, yep. So it's chosen my options. It's going to auto scale. Sounds cool. I like auto. It's given it a URL. So it's going to be surge-crm-solution-con.replit.app. I can add my own custom domains to this, but that's not for now's purpose. And I can go ahead and deploy that now. So I'm going to hit deploy because I can see that on the left-hand side, my agent has finished working. So let's now get this live. And while that goes away and now starts to build my application. So the person that asked earlier around hosting, it's now going to build it. It's gonna, so I think it was Abu, build it. It's going to set up the servers. It's going to then host it. It's going to make it web accessible, all of that stuff. And it's just going to give me a link. But for a lot of people, what I've done today is going to seem a little daunting. For others, this is going to seem like, oh my God, you've just opened my eyes, Ilyas. I'm just going to spend the next like week just building loads of apps, right? Whatever stage of your journey you're at, feel free to reach out if you've got questions, if you've got suggestions. We do run a WhatsApp community where people just post what they're building and kind of share tips and stuff with each other. If you've got any questions, I typically drop answers in there as well. So that will be available to all attendees if they want to join that for free. We also do a number of services around helping people get AI built solutions live. So if you're stuck, if you're not sure where to go next and you've got a prototype and you want to get it live, more than happy to provide guidance. We are doing some free strategy sessions as well. So more than happy for anyone to reach out to me after this session and we'll be, I can do a free strategy session with you where I look at what you're trying to achieve and what some of the best routes for you are going to be. Right, we've got a domain, we've got it linked in. It's 1 minute too. So I didn't get it to get rid of the admin username and password, but that's fine because that's really helped me right now. That will be the last thing I tell it to do. But we have, with 1 minute to spare, an MVP of our CRM system live. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to do everything that we expected it to do? Not yet, but now I can iterate, right? So, Thank you so much. I'm conscious it's 1 o'clock for those that need to jump off and they have hard stops at 1. Like I said, if anyone wants to reach out afterwards, if they want to touch base, if they want to ask more detailed questions, if you want guidance on the best way to prompt and use this technology, then more than happy to share templates, share ideas. And if anyone wants to look at strategy, then I'm excited to help all of you guys accelerate what you're doing. And hopefully what this has been is a bit of an eye-opener to really show you how tools have come along and what the capabilities look like. Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. For those that have shared comments and stuff in the chat, I will try and catch up with you guys separately as well.
Thank you, Ilyas. That's been really, really great. Well done.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your afternoons. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Super.